A very good morning to you. It is the 25th day of November 2025. Trust you're doing well. 329 days into the year. That means we have 36 days remaining until we wrap it up. Today, it's International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and I'll read it for you. This day promotes respect and dignity for women, and this vital moment strives to create a world where every woman feels safe, valued, and empowered. 16 days of activism against gender-based violence also begins officially today, and it will end on the 10th of December 2025. The theme for this year is End TFGBV, that is Technology Facilitated Gender-Based Violence. My name is Anno Dida. Karibu sana to Morning Cafe.
Yes, and I'm Dibala Nair. Thank you for joining us. I trust that you slept easy. You had also a good restorative night. We are also glad that at least that is given much premium the whole month. How we know it, that is not now physically, but it's actually now going to the social media, where women also are being targeted, as we've said before. So it's a good salutary effort that is being put forward to make sure that this bizarrity and barbarity that is perpetrated against women is finally put to rest.
Right. So let's take a look at the local dailies this morning, and we'll start off with gazeti La Taifa Leo. Tukutane debeni hawa wote. Mbere, Kaskazini, Kasipul, Malava, and Magarini, they've been the loudest.
Yes, that is where we shall be looking at this week. Partisan IBC is on the standard. People
Daily is Ruto locking in the Rift Valley vote and what it means for you. If you notice, you're going with the political angles first. They don't make mention of... or they do, by-elections down there. It's all systems go at key battlegrounds for Thursday's by-elections. So they make mention of the by-election.
The story is all about IBC new battles inside attempt to abolish National Tallying Center. They actually seek to invalidate Section 39 of the Constitution. So this brings to question whether this presidential results should be announced from the constituency or the National Tallying Center, and that is from the United Opposition. This shall be part of our discussion also this morning. Absolutely.
Daily Nation, this is totally different. The poison in our food. But of course, they also make mention of by-election. They say all eyes now on IBC as campaigns wind up. We'll be back to take a deep look into that.
Bank squeeze savers to grow lending margins by 24 billion shillings. That is on the Business Daily.
All right. Let's start with the State of the Nation.
All right, State of the Nation. This is where we shall be concentrating, of course, putting tails on the by-elections. We have just 3 days, actually 2 days to go, right? Counting today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes, so we shall be looking at that and looking at that particular question on the National Tallying Center. That is just a segue to the 2027 election. How will it affect IBC as well? Titus Lote, MP Kachaliba will be here. Also James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North, and Advocate of High Court Harrison Kinyanjui also will grace the occasion as well.
All right, and later on, we'll be having this conversation on the silent workforce, the valley of the donkey in the dairy milk chain. Nasema asante ya punda ni mateke, mnateza punda sana. The slaughter rate in the country, as if we compare it to the growth rate, is not proportional. And Kenneth Gaitho, Executive Director, Farming Systems Kenya, alongside Dr. Sylvester Wahu, that is a veterinary surgeon and advocacy officer, Farming Systems Kenya, will be here for us to have this conversation on the silent workforce. Let's cross over to Uganda, and we start off with the Daily Monitor. The women taking on men, daring to dream. They say preliminary data from the Electoral Commission based on the nomination report for the January 15, 2026 polls lists 128 women racing against men for direct election as Member of Parliament, up from 88 in the 2021 general election. This story has been covered on page 4 and 5, and these women are here on the front page. Judith Aliak, Kole North, Betty Bakireke, several women, all of them here, 128 women. What a work on page 4 and 5. Other quick headlines. Chaos rocks Kawempe as Bobby claims 180 members arrested. There's another story there on page 8. Fertility drugs,
Excuse me.
leading premature births. That story is on page 3. On the top strip, 100 years alive, 70 years of service. The story of Mugambi. That's the Daily Monitor. Still in Uganda?
Yes, still in Uganda. New vision. Government warns strict engineers. Over 90% of local government officials unregistered. This is what the flag is reading there. Look how they came out there in force. Ignore critics and vote to protect gains. Museveni tells Kisoro. And you can see how the crowds really swelled around him during this intense times of campaigns in Uganda. Also on the sidebar campaigns, Changulanyi Mafabi hunt for votes. There continues also a pace for them as well. And also Pakasa Forum is on. Participants tipped on growing their businesses. You have the story on page 25. Innovation Uganda develops anti-tick vaccine. That is on page 3. And on economy, URA awards top taxpayers.
Oh, wow. Imagine if KRA awarded top taxpayers in Kenya.
They do.
They do?
Yeah, they do. They normally do. During the KRA summit.
What does the award look like?
They normally do it. So, you know, if you've actually been consistent and you're transparent and you know, don't have this jiggery-pokery ways of evading tax. Yeah, tax avoidance, of course, that's legal.
Yeah.
There's a way you can do it. But yeah, they normally do.
They give you some money?
Yeah, not, of course. I don't know if there are some tax incentives or maybe some tokens, trophies. Yeah, they do.
All right, great. Let's cross over to Bongo, Tanzania. Mwananchi wakataa ubaguzi wa itikadi za dini. Mitandao ya kijamii yatumika kuonyesha mshikamano na umoja wa wachangiaji wakipinga uchochezi na matamko ya kuwagawa kutokana na imani za kidini. Wataalamu wa masuala ya jamii, viongozi wa dini watoa kauli. Kuna mtu amenukuliwa hapa nasema kwamba huu ni mwaka 2025 bado mtu akamchukie mwenzake kwa sababu ya dini. Hapana. Tanzania ni yetu sote, kuanzia salamu za amani iwe juu yako hadi Bwana asifiwe, tunazipokea kwa mikono yote miwili. Ni kulingana na Mwananchi mtandaoni. Wakataa ubaguzi wa itikadi za dini. Every religion matters. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, it's a very contentious issue. And I know also here we had a very intense debate on social media that we had also the leadership of Jamia Mosque coming to roundly condemn some of his sentiments that are being perpetrated on social media, right? Trying to pit Christians against the Muslims as well. And I think it's not only just here, it's happening around us as well. And this should be handled with much care and sensitivity.
Absolutely. Vidokezo zaidi katika ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili. Serikali yatoa kifungoni kanisa la Askofu Gwajima. Idadi ya siku ambazo kanisa hilo lilifutwa ni 176 kuanzia Juni tarehe 2 mwaka huu, even before election. It's been long, 176 days. Watuhumiwa 210 vurugu za Oktoba 29 waachiwa huru. Ni habari nyingine katika ukurasa wa 3. Fedha za sherehe za uhuru kukarabati miundombinu. Na kule juu, ndoto, hofu, vio kuzalisha wabunifu. Gazeti la Mwananchi.
The Citizen still in Tanzania. Why Tanzania must act fast on Muchuchuma Lingalinga projects. Tanzania must urgently fast track the long-delayed Liganga and Muchuchuma projects or risk missing a narrowing window of opportunity driven by Africa's rising steel demand and tightening global environmental rules. Economists and policy analysts have warned. You have this story well fleshed out for you on page 2 of The Citizen. And also mineral output nears $1 billion. Tanzania's mining industry is closing in on a historic milestone after the total value of minerals produced in the country surged to nearly $1 billion in the third quarter of 2025, underscoring the sector's growing contribution to the national economy amid record global and gold prices and strong performance from large-scale miners. You can have the full story about this inside the Business Daily on page 9 of The Citizen today. Percentage by which gold continues to dominate Tanzania's minerals export earnings is 80%. Its production rose from 9,538.5 kilograms in the first quarter of 2025 to 10,573.7 kilograms by September, marking the highest output in the reporting period. We hope also that our gold here in Kakamega, right, the Kolomani area also may yield such, and there's hope since now that discovery has been made. Of course, there has been rudiments of gold here and there, but now when we have such a big discovery that we can actually mine gold in huge chunks and kilogram, talking about huge carats of gold, I think also that will be very providential for our country. 80% is the percentage by which gold continues to dominate Tanzania's mineral export earnings. That's huge, almost 100%. Also, Kwanjima's church restored as government deepens reconciliation agenda. Prime Minister Nchemba issued an immediate order for the reinstatement of the church yesterday. Its registration had been cancelled on June the 2nd after its leader, Bishop Kwanjima, was accused of violating Tanzanian law by engaging in political rhetoric from the pulpit, a breach of regulations governing religious institutions. This story is on page 2. I wonder if this also should be brought to bear here in the country, but that will be gagging also the voice of a church who needs to speak against the ills of the society, because they are actually the sensitive conscience of the society. So I wonder how this regulation of governing religious institution is. We've seen also the religious bill here, which is being roundly castigated by the laity and the church as well. Yeah, that story is on page 2 of The Citizen.
All right. Let's take a look at the weather situation across the regions where there will be by-election, just some of the regions. And I want us to start over in Kakamega. 16 degrees this morning, clear skies with periodic clouds. It feels like 15 degrees. Highs of 29 degrees this morning. Precipitation, nothing, 0%. And by Thursday, it will rise to 30 degrees. So it's a hot day in Kakamega. Tana River, 25 degrees this morning. Clear skies with periodic clouds as well. Feels like 27. Highs of 36 degrees, and precipitation, nothing to show for it, 0% as well. And by Thursday, it will drop to 34 degrees. Still a very hot day in Tana River.
Well, you're looking up to 25, my God.
25.
I think here in Nairobi, around 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, there is where it really clocks up to 25%.
Right.
Degrees Celsius.
All right, the zone has decided to...
This is Embu is reacting. It doesn't want to show up the weather. We're suspecting it's very chilly maybe. Even now it's frozen the screen.
All right, we'll be back to take a look at other areas. Try Nairobi.
Okay, let's see what's happening in Nairobi. Maybe I have a magical touch here. Then Anne.
Let's have the traffic of the day. It's 13 minutes past 6 a.m. If we rush through it, Muthaiga interchange building up slowly. We can already see some red spotting there. If we go way back north of Thika Road, green all the way, nothing to worry about. Kiambu Road also very clear. Watu wamelala, nothing much happening. This is Jogo Road, Outer Ring Road, something here around Mama Lucy Hospital, but this is nothing to worry about. It's the usual traffic there. Around Feather Estate also, matatus are there. If we enter into the city center, nothing also to worry about. Matatus are there. Traders are also getting into town. All the way to Ngong Road, also green, as you can see. Not much happening this morning. Waiyaki Way, let's see what's happening in Waiyaki Way. Everything is clear.
It's all green today.
All green.
It appears. Just a little bit of reds here and there. Prestige Plaza. That is, of course, expected. That is a junction there that goes to Yaya Center. So, of course, the traffic lights will build up something there.
Yes.
And it will show up as red. Pangani, yeah, that is expected kama kawaida. Jogoo Road, amazingly, no, something is not really happening around here.
Yeah.
Where it goes to Landis Road, so it's all green as well.
Even Mombasa Road, all green. Perfect time to leave the house. Let's have the quote of the day. Your life is your story, and the adventure ahead of you is the journey to fulfill your purpose and potential. Do not let fear write your story for you. Instead, let courage, passion, and perseverance guide your pen. All right, let's come back and take a look at the local dailies in depth. All right, and before we dive into the newspapers, let's now take a look at Embu. This morning it's 17 degrees, feels like 16, highs of 26 degrees here. The Mbere by-election, it has been one of the loudest. It's not really charged up the weather. I expected maybe that will have been the hottest thing happening, so the weather also will be adversely affected as well. Yes. By Thursday, it will be 25 degrees. Kakamega this morning... To have risen by then. Right. This morning it's 16 degrees, feels like 15, highs of 29 degrees expected today. By Thursday it will be 30 degrees. That means it's a hot day. Awandu Kakamega. That's where you come from. That is Kakamega. No, I don't come from Kakamega. This is Homa Bay, 21 degrees as we speak. Feels like 24, so it's a hot day in Homa Bay. Highs of 30 degrees. By Thursday it will rise to 31 degrees. So hot day in Kasipul as well. And finally, the city under the sun. In Nairobi, it's 17 degrees as we speak, feels like it. Highs of 24 degrees. And by Thursday, it will rise to 25 degrees. Let's start off with gazeti la Taifa Leo. Tukutane debeni. Mbiu, kampeni zimefika tamati baada ya takribani miezi miwili ya mapambano makali ya kuwashawishi wapiga kura. Sasa hatima yao iko mikononi mwa wapiga kura watakaowachagua wabunge, seneta na madiwani wa kuhudumu kwa miezi 20 kabla ya uchaguzi mkuu ujao. Uchaguzi mdogo unafanyika katika maeneo 22. Wanasiasa wakamilisha msimu wa kampeni kali, macho sasa yakiwa kwa upigaji kura utakaofanyika Alhamisi. Wamewekwa katika ukurasa wa mbele baadhi yao, ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili. Tunaona Mbere Kaskazini, wale ambao wanapambana sako kwa bako, Newton Karish wa chama cha DP, Leonard Mudhende wa UDA. Kule Kasipul, Philip Aroko, huyo ni chama huru independent candidate, Boyd Were wa ODM. Kule Malava, David Ndako wa UDA na Seth Panyako wa DAPK. Na tukienda Magarini, Harrison Kombe wa chama cha ODM and Stanley Kenga DCP. So Harrison Kombe is contesting again after court nullified him. His election in 2022. Yeah, is contesting. That's the main headline on the front page of Taifa Leo. Na tukisonga mbele haraka vidokezo zaidi, Gachagua adai chama ni DCP Mlimani, ushindani baina yake na Uhuru waendelea kuchacha. TSC kuajiri walimu 9,000 zaidi, na walimu hao watajaza nafasi za walimu waliostaafu au kuaga dunia. Na Uburu aanza kujenga kundi la wasiri wake. Anasema kwamba kinara mpya wa ODM asuka kikosi thabiti cha kumsaidia kukabiliana na uasi chamani. Kule juu, mabingwa wa uandishi wa insha wapimana ujuzi kitaifa, na masuala ya spoti pale usiku wa fataki za UEFA wafika. Taifa Leo.
Right, the standard partisan IBC. It's an acid test there. The constitution of the IBC was meant to redeem an electoral agency long tainted by state interference. And so we see and timid leadership. But days before by-elections, seen as a dress rehearsal for the 2027 general election, the commission is already struggling to shake off doubts and that dogged its formation. It cleared a UDA candidate despite EACC advice. Some officials have been accused of bias, and the opposition is warning of state-sponsored violence and poll manipulation. Can Chairperson Ethicon calm the swirling storm? That is what is the probing question there. And the story is well laid out for you on page 8, 9, 10, and 11 of today's publication. And you can see also the previous insert there of the Standard Godfathers Have It. And you can follow the story inside the publication today. This is the Standard.
Mm-hmm. And they just opposed it with this newspaper, newspaper that they wrote on 5th June rather. Godfathers Have It. Godfathers of IEBC, and they were all laid out here very well. Junet Mohammed, Raila Odinga, Josephat Nanok, and Ritu, Francis Odhiambo Duo, and Hassan Noor. All right, that's the Standard. On the back page of the Standard, Matter Sport, Gor Mahia leads, others follow. That's the Standard, of course. And People Daily is Ruto locking in the Rift Valley vote and what it means for...
Excuse me.
They say insiders say the plan involves a network of loyal friends, former rivals, fiery grassroots fighters, and influential state officials. State House race. The story is on page 4. Another story here, Caleb Amisi, the bold voice stirring up Western Kenya politics. Hey, Western is on demand. What's happening in your region, Diba?
Well, Western now seems to be, according to what is really going on with Mount Kenya, and the UDA losing grip on Mount Kenya. So we have Western Kenya that will be also, because you know, they are actually the second largest populated, region in the country. So the huge voting bloc they bring on the table also is a big say and is a big chunk. So it holds sway. You can say is one of the swinging voting bloc of the country that can make such a discernible difference. But if they are going to be underpinned under one, umbrella and unity and one rallying seminal figure, that's a question that is yet to be, because we always have fragmentations around that particular region. So I wonder if this particular time they're going to speak in one voice. So it's a wait and see. All right. Analysis, it's all systems go at key battlegrounds for Thursday's by-elections. And they cover this extensively on pages 5, 6, and 8. People and politics, that's the People Daily. And this is the Star IBC New Battles Inside Attempts to Abolish National Tallying Center. It's a story that you want to follow on page 4 and 5 of the Star today. Mounting accusations threaten to derail preparations. And the story is well laid out for you on page 4 and 5. And I just wanted to remind you that, yes, this week, I think the United Opposition, led by His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka, filed a landmark constitutional petition to restore the integrity of Kenya's presidential election process. And this is what the story is all about, the existence and the operation of a national tallying center, and it seeks to invalidate Section 39 and Section also 39(1)(c), 39(1)(g) of the Election Act and Regulation 83, subsection 2 of the Election General Regulation. And these provisions have been used to create parallel systems of verification of a national level, one that Constitution did not envision and does not authorize. So this is what also we shall be looking at keenly, and how will it derail the preparation of the IBC? Because we know everyone with the National Tallying Center, they've been sitting on pinpricks, waiting to eagerly hear the final verdict. And we had this discussion, of course, previously with the minor Kiai, of course, ruling, or that, yes, pronouncements should be made from the constituency level as well. So we try and maybe make it very limpid for our viewers to understand what is really ongoing with the United Opposition with this new attempt to abolish the National Tallying Center. Also still, Kenya Neville's defy beauty standards, say surgeons, and they're talking about, yes. People now with the Neville rings, so they want to be having a designer Neville, right? It's all about it, yeah. So there is what they call the golden ratio, something like that. Yes, it has to be very asymmetrical, right? So that it seems to be, well, okay, this is for the ladies. I mean, maybe, I don't know, gentlemen, we don't really care a fig about our Neville, whether it's popping out or inside. I mean, who cares at the end of the day? But you can follow the story on page 2 of the Star this morning. Technology deepens GBV crisis as online abuse surges. And of course, this is what you're alluding to today. The whole story is on page 11. So beginning today until the rest of the month?
Yes,
December 10th. This is when we continue to observe, of course,
16 days.
16 days activism. So this is all against a femicide, which has been, we've seen a rising spark in the country.
All right, that's the Star. Daily Nation, the poison in our food is another story covered on page 4 and 5. They say the European Union continues to export pesticides. It has banned from use within its own borders to African nations, with Kenya being a destination for more than 400 tons of the deadly cancer-causing chemicals, a report by a Swiss-based organization reveals. And some fungicides, weed killers outlawed for being carcinogenic and toxic to reproduction. They cover this extensively on the front page, and on page 4 and 5 you can read more about it. Other quick headlines: First World Ambition on track.
Well, this is big. This is big.
Very big.
Because I think from us, they're being unfair. With the European Union zone, when we export our food, sometimes even our fish, you know, they detect some of these pesticides and chemicals, and they say, you know, it's crossed the threshold. But now when you see we are the dumping ground of all these pesticides that are listed here, I think this is a conversation that needs to be, you know, taken on keenly. Because why would we be taken like, you know, just like a third world country, that no one really cares about our health, that you can dump anything that you want in our country. And we've seen the history of this before, and it's still happening. And I think the government needs now to be very keen on this. I know also the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Gladys Chalet, Gladys Boss has been actually very keen on this particular issue of the pesticides and the chemicals which are banned in the European Union, seen here in the country.
So this is very serious. This story is on page 4 and 5. Read it so that you can understand what is actually happening. That story on First World Ambition on track. Malaysia Prime Minister and President William Ruto's push to steer Kenya towards First World status has received backing from visiting Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, who say the goal is achievable. Another story on page 6. All eyes now on IEBC as campaigns wind up. 181 candidates square off. Matters by election there. That story is on page 10. Now the top strip, double tragedy. Man who lost home in Mukuru caught up in Makongeni evictions as residents win court reprieve. And TSC announces 9,000 vacancies to replace dead and retired teachers. Daily Nation.
All right, this is the Business Daily. Bank squeeze savers to grow lending margins by 24 billion shillings. Lending margins growth hands top banks, that is 8 banks, higher earnings. Borrowers miss proportionate benefit from CBK rate cuts. And you can see an insert also of the CBK governor, that is Kamau Thuge, appearing before the parliamentary committee. That is of July the 24th. Kenya's top 8 commercial banks saw their lending margins widened by 24.2 billion shillings in the 9 months to September, as the cut returns to depositors at a faster pace compared to reduction in the cost of loans. The lending margins of the banks, including KCB Bank Kenya and Equity Bank Kenya, rose to 149.7 billion shillings in the review period compared to 125.5 billion shillings a year earlier. You can follow the rest of the story on page 2. And World Bank, weak competition in key sectors stifling jobs growth. That is a sentiment there from the World Bank Division Director for Kenya, Rwanda, Somalia, and Uganda. This is Mr. Kwimiao Fan. You can follow the story on page 2. On the sidebar, M-Kopa exports 15,000 Kenya assembled phones to Uganda. Assets financing company M-Kopa is now exporting 15,000 locally assembled mobile phones to Uganda every month. A new report shows, right, good for us. I think that also was a good salutary effort that came from the previous regime, and that is bearing fruit right now. Pension funds nearly double alternative assets to 126 billion shillings. You can follow the story on page 14 of the Business Daily.
Once again.
Yes, just to prime you as well, we're having Titus Lote, MP Kachaliba this morning. Also, James Gakuya I saw his poster there. He's
Bazoo.
Bazoo, yeah.
Bazenga.
Bazenga. Okay, all right. So he's changed that now. I think now it's looking more formal. Before now it was targeting the Gen Z. And also we have Harrison Kinyanjui, advocate of the High Court. That is the panel this morning. So make sure you engage them, even on our socials as well. If you have any questions that you want to express or share your contribution, that is highly welcome. All
right, and after that we'll be talking about donkeys, the silent workforce, with Kenneth Gaither, Executive Director, Farming Systems Kenya, and Dr. Sylvester Wahu, Veterinary Surgeon, as well as Advocacy Officer, Farming Systems Kenya. Let's see what cartoonists are saying this morning. This is the Star, and the Tanzanian president is caricatured here again. Anafunika watu wengi kule wa Tanzania, and we can see blood spill over. There's a leg there, ameanguka na kuna damu all over, lakini amemulikwa na torch kali. Anajaribu kujificha wapi? Yes, these are lenses of the camera there. The media is actually primarily looking at what is happening in Tanzania. And of course, we know how the government has been very hard on the opposition. As you can see it right here, this has been also in the Star. Standard. Uga, this is not a marathon. And it's all about criminality. I'll leave it for you to decipher this. All right, that's the Standard. The Standard have been off since yesterday. They're cartoons. This is the Daily Nation. I think the easy bit of a cartoon is you shouldn't really struggle to know what actually, the cartoonist is trying to portray. So if you find you're really struggling, can't really tell, I mean, then maybe check out on what you're drawing. This is the Daily Nation. Kenya is walking in Malaysia's footsteps. Lakini we are falling down. That is they are too huge for us as it is there by Victor. So the Singapore dream. Yes. Long way to go. Finally, People Daily. Right, this is Stano, Raila's vision. There's a quest there to get his torch. And of course, he was such a luminary figure. And you can see all the hands are groping for that particular torch lately. This has been the battle also within ODM as well. And if Raila now anointed you to be the next person that is not getting the ticket, you are sure that it's a shoe-in for you as far as getting the win on the election city is concerned. All right. I'm taking a look at your feedback, which I already have here. And it's so good to see you wake up with us this morning. Do interact with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. On X at TV47 Digital. David Mugada is saying, morning watching live from Kwale County, show iko sawa. Asante sana David. Joseph Kinyo is saying, tuned in from Kajiado Town. Joyce anasema watching from 001. Wycliffe Amalemba watching from Ikolomani, gold mining cradle land. Mtaringa jamani. And Kirui anasema, morning, I am watching live from Nanyuki. Asanteni sana for being up this early. My handle on X is at @_Dida. The hashtag is Morning Cafe TV47. Your handle? At Dibala Nair. It's also my X handle and all socials as well. You can use that. See you after the break.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Omer every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gas. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
Walikutoka.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Mimi ni simpa. Hiyo naona nakubali.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV 47. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV 47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.digital or scan this QR code and stream your way to endless news and entertainment. Welcome to the home of untold stories.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Furike tonight. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Furike is my name.
We are flipping the script, but guess what? Or should I say, guess who is taking over tonight's show?
Ani wewe furahia umekaa na kasipuni. CP unit ni Punet.
So you guys knew about
Piga.
Sawa basi. Sema, that on gave you the whole time.
I don't want to go back to brokenness.
Never.
I just love the high life. Siwezi taka kuimagine ati nimesota.
You'll have to watch to find out. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. Start your day with Relationship Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. with Ann Odida. Dive deep into the dynamics of love, friendship, and family as we explore the stories that shape our connections. Then satisfy your appetite with Tasty Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. where Anne serves up delicious recipes, cooking tips, and the latest food trends to inspire your next meal. Relationship Wednesday and Tasty Wednesday every Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on Morning Cafe.
Senator Okia Omtata argues that Articles 86 and 138 of the Constitution provide a clear and transparent framework for presidential elections, requiring votes to be counted at polling stations, tallied at the constituency level, and declared promptly by returning officers. He insists that the constituency results are final and leave no room for further verification at the national stage. According to the petition, presidential results must be tallied, verified, and declared at the 290 constituencies, and those results are final. The IEBC chairperson's role under Article 138 is limited to adding up constituency results and declaring the winner. The senator faults Section 39 of the Elections Act, which introduced national-level verification and tallying, saying it contradicts constitutional provisions and unlawfully expands IEBC's powers. According to him, the creation of a national tallying center has opened the door to confusion, duplication, and possible manipulation of results. Omtata notes that the entire process is unconstitutional because it treats constituency results as provisional when the Constitution stipulates that they are final, and it creates an extra and unnecessary layer that was the source of the disputes, delays, and suspected manipulation in 2013, 2017, and 2022. The petition now seeks a judicial interpretation of Section 39 of the Elections Act and a determination on whether IEBC's conduct at the National Tallying Center violates the constitutional scheme for presidential elections.
Yes, indeed, and that is the story that acts as a segue to our discussion here, looking at a confluence of issues that we shall be discussing this morning. My name is Dibal Aine. Hearty welcome to the conversation. And I want just also to tease out the star that has carried this particular story this morning on this latest development, even as we look at what will be happening just a few days. I think we're just 2 days shy to the by-election. And this is all about the IBC new battles inside attempts to abolish National Tallying Center is what is on the front page. We teased out this for you. Mounting accusation cases threaten to derail preparations. And this story is well fleshed out for you on page 4 and 5 of the Star this morning. And I just want to, unveil the faces that we have this morning. And we have created first time with Titus Lote, who's a member of Parliament, Kacha Liba. Also, we have with us Harrison Kinjui, who's an advocate of the High Court. And we have James Gakuya, member of Parliament, Embakasi North. A hearty welcome to all of you. Good morning.
Morning, sir. Good morning.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And, well, there are a raft of issues that we want to discuss, primarily looking at this latest development from the United Opposition. And James Gakuya will tell us what is actually behind it and why providentially it's coming to bear right now, even as we're heading towards a by-election. But first of all, we exchange some pleasantries. Of course, this is African culture, just to find out how you're doing. And of course, I saw James Gakuya first, looking dapper as always, bling, bling, shining. Today you want to brighten our day early in the morning. Good to see you. Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Mm-hmm. Yes. Allow me to salute the viewers wherever they are watching this morning show from. And coming to the major issue. Let me say, every single country within the world is being governed by what we call constitution. And constitutions are the ones, they are not cast on a stone. Constitutions are made to be amended at any point when the constituent feels that it is pitching. And therefore, having our constitution and having what we call guidance on how our elections should be taken through, I have no problem with the manner in which our elections are conducted. But there is only one gray area. And that one gray area is that our results are supposed to be under the framework where announcement of every result from a polling station that carries the day. Because that is where election is. Mm-hmm. And after that result, there are four certificates that are generated. One is fitted to the door. The second one, the other one is put to the ballot box inside. The other one is displayed at the top of the ballot box, and therefore there is the last one, which is taken to the tallying center. And that is how the elections are. And what we are saying is that election relying on a particular other center that the results will be relayed to, and then that is the final say, which might say something different from what was resorted at the polling center. Any other result that might go contrary to the result, the first result, is wrong. Because we must take and we must respect the will of the people. And where the will of people starts is at the polling station, and those outcomes should be honored to the letter. And I don't think there is anybody who should be allowed to twist any results already announced at the polling level, polling station level. And that's where election is won. And the tallying stations can be there, but tallying stations should not be element of twisting or changing any result that has been announced at the polling center. That is where election should end. Thank you.
Right, so now, are we really circling back to the minor KI judgment? I mean, we've been here before, so are we splitting hairs on already something that has been passed, you know, and determined, because that was there to protect the integrity of the electoral process from the beginning? And this was the case that was being advanced by minor KI, that, you know, the tallying center, of course, just you've said, should not be changing what has been pronounced from the constituency level. I mean, that will be the final verdict. So we'll say the constituency will be the laws of the mids and the passions. It cannot be changed. Let me just hear from Mheshimiwa. Good morning.
Good morning, Dibal. Thank you to allow me to be on the show. I think we're starting to look at the issues coming up in 2027, and especially now also. We are starting with the rehearsal and what we call the by-elections, which is coming on the 27th. I think what Kenyans are saying is exactly what is there. I don't think we are talking about anything different, because Article 86 of the Constitution is very clear. And I think we've been operating on this. Article 86 basically says during the voting, the counting of the votes are done, the ballots are actually done at the polling center, like it says, and then displayed. What Article 39 of the National Elections Act only stipulates is to say, even when these polling stations, over 22,000 polling stations in this country, have actually announced their results, display them at the tallying center or the polling center, there should be a place where you tally. Because how do you correlate all those results from the 22,000 plus polling centers? There should be a place that now tabulates so that we get the final results. So I do not really think that we need to expunge Article 39 of the National Elections Act, because that one is basically a place where we put the sums together. Tell me, Dibal, if a polling station has 39 voters, another one has 200 voters, another one has 10 voters, how do you then know the sum total of this? There should be a place where they are actually being summed, and that's the reason why we got. And that is why
at the constitution
they are done at the done at the tallying center. But then where are you going to tabulate all of them so that we get the final figure?
But I thought maybe from the constituency level also you give your pronouncements. This is the president.
I do not have a problem with that. Because for you to become the president, all the sum total should be done at the national level. Because then at the constituency, you got 10,000 votes in one constituency, you got 100,000 votes from another constituency. How then do you tally all of them for you to know the final figure for the president? There should be a place where all these are going to be put together, and that is what is actually done by Article 39 of the National Election Act, to have a tallying center that then puts all the sums together. It's actually a summation center where you just sum exactly what is coming from the polling station to the constituency and all the way to the national level. So I do not really think that we are actually giving something new, because the framers of this, the ones who thought about this constitution, the ones who thought about the National Elections Act number 39, knew that there should be a place where you tally those things. Yeah.
All right, I don't know what, Wakili, you have to maybe now give us the legal perspective. What did minor KI judgment envision? Or should we be also back to something that already has been dusted? And that was primarily the issue. Yeah, make the declaration from the constituency level. The tallying center will just be tallying, but the announcement will not be made from the National Tallying Center, like we've been eagerly awaiting for, the head of IBC, the IBC chairperson, to make the final result who has been declared as a presidential winner. Of course, he shall be doing that, but we'll be knowing from the constituency level. So even as Kenyans, when we can sit back at home and hear, okay, Magarini constituency.
Before we take it to Akili.
Yes, please.
I think I just want to give a proposal that Kenyans now are very, very intelligent, and actually they are, most of the time they are ahead of the game. If we want to make sure that the process is free, fair, and verifiable, then make declaration of every result at the constitutional level.
Indeed.
The president, the governor, the senator, and the women rep. All of them should be declared at the constitutional level. And therefore, the tally can be done by everybody.
Indeed.
Yes.
And that's what exactly you're saying.
Let there be a screen to make tally of every constituency at every level. So that even the constituents can do their own tally.
Indeed.
And that is what is always there. People have their polling centers. We've actually seen the national media, including this one, doing their tally, coming from the constituency level.
Then how comes that, in fact, we have issues at the end? And after tallying, then we have different results.
All right. Okay. Let's give a chance to Akili as well, so that, of course, we can hear from his perspective.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Thank you very much, Debal. I don't know if Honorable Okia would like to revisit the Minor Kia 2017 decision, or in his attempt, I should say, to totally and completely do away with the talent center, aligns with Article 138(4) A(4)(1) of the Constitution. Now, Article 138(4), yes, of the Constitution demands, and probably you can have a look at that.
Yes.
That out of the 290 constituencies, there should be a declaration of then who has garnered the
138(4).
138(4). It should be 138(4)A. 138(4)A. Probably you can just read for us that 138(4), and then you go to A.
All right.
So that contextually, everybody is able to grasp what we are saying at 138(4).
Okay. All right. So 138(4).
Yeah.
A candidate shall be declared elected as president if the candidate.
Yeah. Now A. What does the A say?
Receives more than half of all votes cast in the election, and B, at least 25% of the votes cast in each of more than half of the counties.
Good. So for me, the tallying center is supposed to be having the presiding officer, supposed to be having the national, so that then we're able to get the results from the 290 constituencies. He or she becomes responsible to fulfill that particular provision you have read. Then he declares. Now, they are right. And the Minor Kia decision had said that you cannot change or alter at the National Talent Center any record of the results.
It has been declared for.
It has been declared at the constituency. The polling station, actually. The polling station is at the point at which then you get the results, and then they are then tallied at the constituency level. Now that constituency then comprises the 290 total, out of which now that Article 138(4)A kicks in. So I would wonder, who then becomes responsible for declaring the president if you do not have that National Talent Center? So Okia's petition, with tremendous respect, although we are now restricted by the sub judice rule that if an issue is pending in court, then we cannot venture to comment on its merits. So we have to be very restricted. I would say that what the Minor Kia decision had said was set the record straight. It established, look, at the Talent Center, the National Talent Center, the Presidential National Talent Center, you cannot alter any figure. It's only the Supreme Court that has responsibility, the power, and the constitutional mandate to alter any figure that you perceive is probably wrong or that it actually, probably instead of 3, someone inserted an 8, you are not entitled to change it. And that had been decided also earlier on in several cases, including the Joho case, including the karaoke case, in the Mathare case, in which I was participating when they were fighting with Mr. Honorable Wanjohi about the electoral outcome of the Mathare constituency. And the issue turned on what is the role of the returning officer if the figures probably have some typographical error. Once declared, he or she cannot change, even if you find and establish that instead of this figure, we have actually, in reality, a different figure. So in saying and attacking Article 138 and saying that we cannot have this National Talent Center, I wondered then who would be responsible to declare the presidential election winner based on that arithmetic which the Constitution sets. So what is and should be emphasized is that you cannot change what figure you have received from each of the 290 constituencies. So for the Kenyan people, it is to remember and to keep a record. From Magarini, we have received this figure as the presidential candidate, the outcome. From Vihiga, we have received this. So at the tallying center, what is reflected is a figure that you possess at the constituency level. But if Kenyans are not visual or not keen enough, that figure then can be altered at the National Tallying Center. And that's a problem, which I believe Okia is trying to attack. And the minor Kiai, because you ask, are we revisiting the minor Kiai? Are we reinventing the wheel? The minor Kiai said, actually, it's very elaborate, extremely elaborate about what the IEBC can and cannot do. The province of the returning officer is also set in that. The polling station under Article 86 of the Constitution becomes the primary station, the point at which then we get the, whichever results that we may have for the women rep, the ward representative, and so on and so forth. So Kenyans ought to know that really Article 138 4A ought to be given effect. And you cannot get rid of the National Talent Center so far as the fulfillment of that constitutional obligation is concerned, in my humble view. So that is, I mean, with tremendous respect to Honorable Okia, it's a misadventure to say, let's abolish it. Let's get rid of it. If we go back to Section 39 of the Elections Act, and we were then to misread it and say that, you know, the National Tallying Center ought to be abolished because you cannot locate it anywhere in terms of the Constitution, then I would ask that question again in a rhetorical way. How do we declare the presidential candidate winner? Because you have to see, has she garnered the votes requisite to meet that threshold? Yes or no? Who is supposed to do it? The constituency returning officer? He or she can't do that.
Of course, but the question then that becomes is the fact that we had also the ECK before. Did we have the tallying center as envisioned? We know they used to congregate at KICC and we had the chair, him now.
The history of the ECK.
Yeah, the history of ECK. That's what
it's different.
What is discernibly different with the ECK and the Independent Electoral Commission? And where is the violation from the violation from the Election Act with the Constitution? Is it just on the tallying center, which is not pronounced anywhere in the Constitution? That's what I want to
allow me just to say this, yes, so that then he can take up. The distinction that has to be placed is that the ECK, the Electoral Commission of Kenya, under the deceased Kivuitu, was operational within two different legislative frameworks. A, the Elections Act. B, the Constitution. So there was a paradigm shift in terms of the Constitution now becoming elaborate about the polling station.
Indeed. So I want just to make it clear for us, very limpid then.
Yes.
How did they make the pronouncement then? And now that it is so different.
The difference is...
We didn't have a national tallying center then, didn't we? Did we?
We did.
We did?
Yes.
Where I know it was the KICC where the...
Yes.
It was not envisioned. Was it primarily envisioned in the Constitution by then?
It was not.
It was not.
It was not. That's what I'm saying. There has been that paradigm shift. And that paradigm shift, to me, as emphasized in the minor care decision, and also Karaoke's and Honorable Njohi's decision, is that you could not alter the results, the electoral results. The sanctity of the electoral result, the integrity thereof, had to be maintained in its purest form, subsequent to the declaration. And there is an important distinction that Kenyans need to understand. At the polling station, there is a preliminary announcement. The announcement gives you the opportunity to go back and say, wait. You declared my opponent the winner, I want a recount. So you can ask for a recount at that stage before the declaration.
The declaration, yeah.
And the declaration is contained in a form which Mheshimiwa said has to be emblazoned, has to be posted on the door of that polling station. You're given a copy, that's your agent, so that then you're able to verify. So once you then verify, anybody who has an issue, a question is told by the returning officer, you have any issue, then declare it right now. State it right now, so that we can establish. If you want to recount, we will have the reasons, or whichever polling station that you're questioning, we will confine it to that. We cannot reopen the whole process. So there are regulations that govern that. Once that is done, then the returning officer says that everybody was given an opportunity, because there's a form, there's a return to field with the IBC in terms of dispute resolution. And the declaration is made in the official form. I don't know which form now they'll have, Form 36 or Form 35, the IEBC will have. Once that is done, the courts have declared the judicial decisions consistently. You cannot alter that, even if, and this is important, even if you find the figure is different. So going back to the ECK, the opportunity came and presented itself through those quote-unquote cooked figures. And that's why at the tallying center, you could find that the discrepancy is so huge that from the polling station to the declaration, it created a room now for questions, for quote-unquote rigging, and so on and so forth. That's a distinction.
Right, Mheshimiwa, you wanted to say something?
I actually wanted to say we cannot compare ECK with IBC. Basically, the reason why IBC was brought is because of the shortcomings of the ECK. And I think we've actually seen elections conducted very well. When Uhuru came in, the only unfortunate one was 2007. But when Uhuru came in, you actually saw the contestation, and there was a repeat of elections. We've actually seen it now, even the last elections, where the late Raila Odinga and William Ruto actually had a very different split, and Kenyans were allowed to actually verify. I think what Okia is trying to do is just to take us around the corners, because he wants to make a name for himself. Because we are splitting hairs. What Harrison said here is exactly what needs to be done. Elections are results are supposed to be announced at the polling center. But then there should be a tallying center that puts these things together. I think what Okia wants to do is to take us back to a point of rigging. Because if there is no central place where we tally all this, then anybody can be announced as a president. There should be a center, and I don't think we can. I don't think Okia is going to win any of this case. I don't think any Kenyan is going to follow Okia on this, because Okia wants us to get this raid. Because now, where are we going to count our eggs if we cannot have a point where we put everything together? I'll advise Okia is he needs to get something else that probably he needs to take us around with, but not on this. I think Kenyans thought through this very well. Kenyans have been averse to election malpractices, and I think Kenyans thought very well for them to put Article 86 into the Constitution and Article 39 in the Elections Act. It is as clear as that. I appreciate the fact that elections at the polling centers have actually been announced, put like it should be, and all the media houses, what we've actually seen running in our televisions, and I think we're going to see that on the 27th of this month, we see elections results from the constituencies. They're all displayed, and Kenyans can take a calculator, simple, put it together. So by the time the IEBC chairperson is announcing results that every Kenyan has actually been able to tally from home. And the reason why even all political parties have got their own tallying centers. Why are they allowed to have a tallying center? Is for them to verify the results that are coming from the polling stations, for the results that are coming from the constituencies. So I don't think Okia is doing anything new. Okia just wants to take it around. Yeah.
So are we chasing a wild goose chase here, so to speak? Because I can see the predicating issue here is not actually the IBC, it's the issue of mistrust. Because if you look at the entire article also in the Star, if my director may just pick it up briefly so that we may read on together. We have a sentiment here. It says that I happen to know, and here let me just try and share it. Yeah, I happen to know that Mr. Marjan, the CEO of IBC, who, by the way, we recommended he should not be there by 2027, is working with Ruto's political advisor, who was also a commissioner and is based in State House managing IBC. These are sentiments of Kalonzo Musyoka. So there is, he claims that the commission is remotely controlled by the regime. Thus eroding the credibility of us. And this is Senator Omtata. The chairperson has no authority to verify or change the results already declared in the constituency. His role is merely clerical, which I think it's very limpid and clear from Maina Kiai's judgment as well. Yeah. So are we on a wild goose chase?
Let me see. Where the point that Omtata is want to attain for now, it may not work because one, there is no way that you can say that you, as much as the results and the outcomes of the polling centers are the one to rely on, that does not mean that it questions than the tallying center. Because the tallying center is to call it together. Yes. And now tally them and announce. What do you want to maybe to emphasize is that transparency at the tallying centers should still be there and well broadly, because we don't need to hear cry or complaints at the tallying center level, where results are very clear, and then you get to see a different result after tallying. So I think to avoid all these petitions, it is important for the whole process to be very transparent, and the tallying should be very actual, because tallying centers are guided by the results of polling centers. And therefore, you don't expect to have a different answer or a different result. You need to have the actual. Even at the presidential level, where now the IBC Commission now awaits for the results from all over the country, we should not wait to hear announcement which is contrary from the results that we attained from, because that's why we have agents. If your agent serves you with the results from every polling center, and therefore you have done your tallying on your private site, and then the rest do so. So to avoid deliberate petitions, where also petition does not work very well in our law, because you realize now in Magarini, we are heading to a by-election after somebody serving for almost 3 years in power. And then even though you get an opportunity to be elected, you only serve 1.5 years. It is not fair. All petitions should be given timelines, and timelines that should not be beyond 6 months. This should be taken care of, and everything should be done to the letter. We must find a mechanism. If it is our judicial process, let us have enough judges who can be able to take that business of listening to the petitions, because a petitioner can be a very important case where all grounds are on the table. That these were the results. How did we manage to get a different answer at the tallying center? Because if you collect all your polling centers, you have your results. Then you don't require to have a contrary at the polling center. And this happens, but those are deliberate. And that's why the officers from the IBC sometimes do some cooked business. This is a business we are saying we should not enter into see such kind of business. We should see a very transparent and smooth, very viable process all over from down to the top. And therefore, after every single result at any center, no quarrel.
No quarrel.
No quarrel.
All right, question before you go on, Wakili. Are all polling centers gazetted?
They are supposed to be.
They are supposed to be gazetted.
They are supposed to be by law.
All right. So the question again becomes, a national tallying center, which is very crucial, and we give it a much higher premium I don't want to say than the polling station, because I think polling station is where everything is done, is made. Why wouldn't it also be gazetted? Why is it unconstitutional?
No, it should be gazetted.
It should be gazetted?
It should be gazetted.
If
because it relates to the presidential election.
So what is the issue here if it relates to the presidential election? So you say it's unconstitutional?
No. Well,
the argument is that the National Tallying Center is unconstitutional.
Well, you see, that I have to ask again. Okay, fine. Who then gets to define you have actually met the threshold? Because you may actually not garner the 24, the minimum counties. You may be perceived to have won. But so who does that? You have to have that national.
So is it a lacuna?
Now,
Is it a lacuna we have in the law?
No. There is no lacuna. It's just interpretation that is being bandied around. And I think what Okia probably is saying, probably I have misapprehended what his point is, but let me re-emphasize. You cannot alter. You're only tallying. It's a tallying center.
Yes.
So that you tally, but you do not add a figure. Now, going by what Honorable Gakuya has said, the law is very, in my humble view, very assumptive, theoretical, reductionist. Reductionist in what sense? That it assumes that the quote-unquote the power basis of, for instance, the incumbent, let's assume someone from Kuresoi, for instance. They of Kuresoi will very unlikely, in terms of practice, and what has emerged from the previous elections, not permit or allow a quote-unquote a foreigner or the competing candidate by way of their agents to go there. So what you have there is that the incumbent from Kuresoi, for instance, if he's a president, I'm just using a theoretical example, he then, by means of his agents or emissaries, and if he's able to control the IEBC, as the lamentation that I've just seen right now, then a collusion emerges between those officers of the IEBC at that level, or the so-called strongholds, so that then the competition is not able to send their agents there and therefore scrutinize. So whatever will be declared there is quote-unquote official, but it is not reflective of the actual vote. So ballot stuffing will happen in those so-called strongholds under the eye and the watch of the IEBC representative, but you as a competitor have been barred because of the political machinations. And this is what I'm saying, the dysfunctional operation of the electoral law, so that you are assumed that you have your agents at every polling station. That's the electoral statutory assumption. But in practical reality, you find the different scenario. The pendulum swings the other way, such that the so-called stronghold areas, the agents of the competition are barred, and you have ballot stuffing, and you have a declaration that is totally unreflective of the electoral voice. So that is a danger that we face as we go into the 2027 election. And you see now, right now, the problem of violence, such that if a candidate feels threatened, their own supporters feel probably they'll be accosted by or with violence, and therefore they will not be able to exercise their free will. So that the entire electoral process, seen from the conception of it to the conclusion of the declaration, becomes marred. And we would like to, ensure from all these attacks, from all these vitiating factors, the electoral process, so that the sanctity thereof cannot be impeached in a court of law. But the IEBC, in my humble view, has failed in its responsibilities, not even educating the people. That look, hey, do not taint the electoral process through violence and this verbiage that you're spewing that is denigrating of your opponent. So you have to ask these candidates, have you studied, have you looked at the electoral code of conduct? Because the electoral code of conduct tells you how to govern yourself from the point that you hand in your certificate to the point of the end of that election, unless you withdraw from that election. So I'm saying that we really, we may encounter a problem where someone could be declared the winner.
Thank you.
But with fake results, quote unquote legit, quote unquote authenticated by the IEBC, but in the stronghold of the so-called incumbent, where your eyes, through the agent, your agent, were totally cut off.
But even if we have the results really announced from the constituency level and we have this tallying center, because I think the tallying is now the fulcrum of it at the end of the day, when we're tallying all these results, who oversees also, if there could be also a miscalculation with the tallying on this, because now we're living on the principle of IBC that we trust, and this is the issue of mistrust that is actually checking in. Yes, you have all these credible results coming from the wards, the constituency level. It goes to now the IBC who are tallying. How do we
have very sharp?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Do we have agents also within the tallying center who are they're watching over the shoulders of IBC to see if the tallying is actually done appropriately?
They are there.
Yeah.
We should be there.
By law, you're supposed to have your agent.
How many agents do you normally have in that tallying center that will ever see that they're welcome, that they see truly no figures are missing?
But you have to be accredited. Huh? You have to be accredited. No one just can walk in there.
I agree. I'm just trying to look at the sanctity of all this.
I agree.
Because we've been here before, and it's an issue of mistrust. That in this tallying center, even if we have agents, still we have the opposition saying...
Allow me to say this.
Please.
Because when we start pouring cold water into an electoral process, through the systems that we've thought properly, we are starting to create fear in Kenyans. At the tallying center,
look at what is on the standard.
I am. Okay, of course, these are fear, because already there's somebody lamenting and saying that Marjan is related to somebody in State House. What does that have to do with the law? Relationship is not put on the law. And that is not going to change anything. At the tallying center, we've got your agents, accredited by IBC. We've got the international observers who are also coming in to see. When we look at what happened in Tanzania, you already see what the international observer says. When we look at the elections that have gone, the two elections in Kenya, the election have been observed by the international observers, and they've actually given a green sheet of life and say the elections were well done. And when there is contention, because like you're saying, what happens when these tallings are not agreeable by everybody? Then we've got the systems of challenging the elections, and we saw that last time, where somebody says, no, this is not my results, can we go back? And we go to the courts of law, and the courts of law then look through it and declare whether those are valid or not. And so there is a thought-through process through our election system, from the polling station all the way to the announcement of results, all the way to the acceptance of those results by all the parties. So let us not try to create issues now. I think I look at what Kalonzo is saying. When you are starting to see defeat before you, you start creating issues so that you can be able to escape through those issues and say, I was not defeated, it was because of this. The relationship between Marjan, who is there by law in that office, and probably what Kalonzo is saying in State House cannot alter results in any way if the law that is being set now is actually going to be put in place. And I think Kenyans are bright, like he says. Every Kenyan has got a calculator. Every Kenyan is very aware. Every Kenyan is very bright. Probably what can only mar our elections is what Lawyer Kinyeju is saying here. The violence and the disturbance of the populace that is coming to vote. But once you cast your vote, that vote is protected from the polling center all the way to the announcements of those results.
All right.
But also making some safeguards is not wrong. I am sure that the technical office, and this is in the IBCs where Majani is the one heads that technical team, is also another area where some what we call influence kind of election mock practice can also be used to do some riggings. Rigging is not only at the voting level. Remember, voting is a process which emanates from registration of voters. Most of the time, you realize many people wake up and line to vote, and they don't cast their votes. Their names don't appear. Most likely during the time of generating the register. You find your names are in Mombasa. Other names are finding themselves on a very drastic areas. I think sometimes they are done deliberate. Because when you want to rig an election, you can rig election through many measures. Even a way of diverting names from a particular register to elsewhere is another process of rigging. Because people will come to the polling station, being ready to vote, but their names disappear from the register. You cannot tell me that because we are in a new technology, if my name does not appear at the electronic, that it is wrong, that you cannot have a backup of hard copy.
Of the hard copies, yeah.
Where names can be sourced. And nobody should get out of a polling center without voting. And it's not criminal, because we have not said anything.
It's a violation of your rights.
Yes. So we should look those safeguards. Even at that final tallying center,
yes,
there has to be guidelines and a way of doing that final announcement. We must know every single party which has a presidential candidate, how many agents should that party having at that particular center. It should not be seen you have like 20 people from one party and another party has only one agent. It is wrong. There has to be an equality.
I have an experience.
I think the law. Oh, go ahead.
Just by experience, actually, what it says could have some standing. You know, in the last elections, I am a victim. While IBC, I'm a candidate, but IBC during the voting day did not have my name on the ballot. Did not have my name. Actually, my name was actually found in Kitui Central, Kitui Rural. And my constituency had somebody from Kitui Rural as the candidate. So 4 constituencies actually did not participate in the elections. Why? Because...
Did you challenge it?
IBC, we did challenge it. We did challenge it. Because it is a malpractice.
Yeah, it's a malpractice.
Elections is supposed to be held on the 2nd Tuesday of August of the year of elections. But the time people are queuing up in the polling centers to vote for me, they did not find me.
They can't see your face.
They cannot see
Some of them are illiterate. They just know your face.
And let me tell you, before we actually go for the elections, we are asked by IBC to go and verify our details. We verified our details. They were well written, well enumerated, but those details somehow got challenged. And when we asked, they told us it is at the printing point in the UK or wherever where they changed my face, took it to Kitui Central or Kitui Rural, and brought somebody from Kitui Rural to Kachaliba constituency. For me, I was aggrieved.
Yeah,
I'm still aggrieved up to now, because I had to go through a mental anguish to wait and see whether I was going to be allowed to be elected. I was elected a month after. The kind of the miscalculation, which I am asking the current IBC.
But hang on, Mheshimiwa, because so this ballot paper goes to the polling center with this misrepresentation of your face.
Yes,
and they've not verified. They've not even verified picking it from the printer and coming down with the ballot papers in the country and distributing them to the constituency without any verification. So they never saw this. They missed it.
We were asked to, a month to elections, we were asked to come and verify that our details are correct. We did. I actually went.
And it was okay?
It was very okay. Pokot South was not there. Pokot North, where I represent, was not there. Baringo, somewhere here in Baringo, where Raymond Moy was actually contesting, was not there. And Kitui Rural was not there. 4 constituencies and 2 counties were actually misrepresented during the elections. And that basically comes to what Kekuya said.
But was your mugshot or the picture together with the the identity of the party, or it was a different party?
Everything was completely jumbled up.
Okay.
Everything was jumbled up. What was
So you have a different face with your party?
Yes, a different face with
your party?
Not even a different face, a different name. You see, when you bring somebody to Ruro and take it to Kacheliba, and they're looking at it and they're seeing very different faces, and they're supposed to elect them, what happens?
Yeah.
It is all complete malpractice on how the electoral officials can actually mishandle elections.
And this is what really engenders mistrust.
Absolutely.
If you have, a credible, or should I say, infamously, then it will make IBC very incredible in this, because I think if you feel aggrieved and violated that your picture is not there, you've expended so much energy on the campaign trail and resources at the end of the day.
Exactly.
You feel violated at that. And I think
And
the efficiency and the high caliber of workmanship and craftsmanship that really come to bear from the IBC, should be challenged. And I think we should question that this morning.
I think the lamentation by Honorable Kalonzo is legitimate. And I don't think it should be taken lightly. And I, with tremendous respect, have to disagree with Mheshimiwa saying that this is probably a crying wolf and sensing defeat. I don't think that is a point that was being conveyed by Honorable Kalonzo.
But he's also a victim. So I think he's a victim of this process.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you can see the sort of, beyond the inconvenience that arose out of that, the mental anguish of the candidate is self-evident. In the IEBC, I don't know if you were ever compensated by the IEBC.
We weren't compensated at all.
Constitutionally, under Article 29 of the Constitution, it is wrong then to meet any sort of psychological torture on anyone from any source. I mean, that's a constitutional right that he is vested in.
So in his case, what sort of compensatory intervention?
Monetary.
Yeah, monetary. He expended the legal fees. Maybe he's not been very keen. Maybe he's not been very...
Actually, I expended close to 8 million just for that period, because everything became... And it is wrong. When everybody else has been elected and then they come mob just against you.
Now, the point that...
But why haven't you sought the recourse to be compensated?
We tried, and the IBC said there is no point. I think I now need to talk to Wakili here.
Yeah, we should. Wakili, I mean, there's a gig here.
Actually, you know what?
Yes.
Kenyans also need to realize there is an expanded, just allow me to digress a little bit. There's an expanded space for consumer rights. Now, consumer rights under Article 46 of the Constitution, as actually framed by the framers of the Constitution, is very curious because it extends to the monopoly service providers by the government. So the government, for instance, offers you health services.
Yes.
That's a service which, under the Constitution, as read with the Consumer Protection Act, you are entitled to certain rights. And if the government violates that in terms of the bodies that are then offering that monopoly service, I should say, then you're entitled to compensation and damage. So the IEBC is no exception because it's offering these electoral services, and for which Kenyans are paying heavy in terms of taxes. I mean, so therefore, I believe that is something that should be pursued, because it's not for nothing that a candidate offers him or herself for election, and then they are sabotaged in terms of the realization of their dream and aspiration as a candidate by the IEBC's inefficiencies. Now, here we have the typical classical example playing right in our eyes through this bare enough. There is a candidate there who has changed his name, and the EACC is very categorical that, look, we have submitted to you, IEBC, as part of our legislative and constitutional mandate, pursuant to Article 79 of the Constitution, to inform you as a responsible body that this proposed candidate that you have in the name of Leo Muthende, as he has changed his name, would be and stands unsuitable for election. But what does the IEBC do? Ignores, acts blind to that, and it's like there was absolutely no report from the EACC. What does that speak of the IEBC's upholding Article 73 of the Constitution, Chapter 6 in a nutshell, or its own statutory mandate in terms of vetting candidates?
Indeed.
And it's, to me, I believe, this even opens another Pandora's box. At the point, suppose, peradventure, in the very unlikely event that there is, or likely event, that there is an electoral dispute arising from this Mbeere North, and one of the candidates, whoever it is, probably they got 4 or 10 votes, and then they say that, look, Honorable Muthende ought never have been actually approved by the IEBC to be on the ballot, but he was, to my detriment.
As an imposter.
As, quote unquote, as an imposter, you know, with tremendous respect.
Yes.
What does that then do to the outcome? What will the Mbeere people feel? That, look, we've been robbed of our enfranchisement rights because of some corruption, some inefficiency, failure of duty by the IEBC. So we have to have the IEBC, you know, brought to account. And this is a failure in our systems that, in our humble view, portends such negative perceptions of the IEBC. Indeed. And in my humble view also, it will lead to a lot of people saying that, look, I don't think I want to get into that mess. I don't think that election can be clean and have integrity if this is the sort of thing that I'm seeing. So for 2027, if the IEBC does not clean get its act together, and get rid of this sort of notion. Because the moment that someone says that, or Honorable Kalonzo saying Marjan is somehow connected to that, if I was that person, not even a day would end. Hold a press conference, invite even Kalonzo. Clear the air. And say, hey, wait a minute. No. What you're accusing me of, I am not even guilty, not even close. And look, I'm open. Come over, scrutinize and check. But they're not doing it.
Indeed. And this is where I want to bring in also Mheshimiwa Gakuya on this as well, because I think they're off on a false start. If you have issues of credibility, even on the entire process of how a candidate has passed muster, and the questions which are being raised about his, first of all, name change, right? Because if you peel back, and I don't have the credibility of this information as well, but according to what partners are saying, there is some mischaracterization or some credibility issue around, you know, this particular candidate. Because we have Wakili also Ndegwa here in Njiru who is raising questions. Maybe we can also just bring it on the table for our discussion. In the IBC register, the UDA candidate is registered as Leonard Muriuki Njeru. On his nomination papers, he appears as Leo Wamodende Njeru. In law, is this the same person? Right? Can he be deemed to be a registered voter? He questions. Were these changes disclosed to the IBC at the time of the nomination? Another question. Did IBC rectify the voters' register to reflect these changes? And if yes, did the IBC notify the general public via the Gazette notice about the said changes? Can, in the circumstances, Mr. Mudende be deemed to be registered voter for purposes of by-elections? 6, the law under Section 10 of the Registrar of Persons Act states that if no objections is received within 21 days of publication, the registrar or the registrar shall register the change and issue a certificate to that effect. Was this certificate ever issued by the registrar? And if yes, when? And was it ever forwarded to the IBC at the time of nomination, noting that Mr. Mudende has only published the Gazette notice? Where is the certificate for the change on name? And this is where I wanted just to ask, is there a difference between the deed poll and the certificate? So you need to have a certificate, or a deed poll will actually fly? Maybe okay before. A deed poll will do?
He gazetted. I mean, there is a Gazette notice.
He gazetted?
Yes, there was a Gazette notice number 1,575.
Of a change?
Yes, dated the September 3rd.
Of the name change?
Yes, September 3rd of his name change. Mm-hmm. So he took the deed poll, his lawyer, then after doing what is supposed to be done at the Arthi House, and then of course then he gazetted it. So the gazettement operates, it's that then you take to the registrar of persons, and the registrar of persons then issues you with whatever documentation that you may need, an ID or your change.
So the question becomes, what is the rhyme and reason for the name change? Are there any credibility issues with the previous person? That is now morphed into a new person that he is who he is, according to law, squeaky clean?
In fact, coming to the reasons of an individual change of name, that will depend on the field that he's directing his ambitions. Now that Mudende most likely made the change of his name purposely to skip or to hide an investigation report from the EICC or so, I don't think that the Commission should labor too much there. What the Commission should want to see is whether that process of change of name followed the process, the due process. And if the name followed the due process, I think the Commission has no issue. People now who should be left to do their issue, their matter, is the investigators. Because if you are anti-corruption, your mandate is to do investigation. You have realized that somebody have changed the name, maybe to skip from being a director of a particular company during a certain time, or being so-and-so. And I think that is not a law that the Commission, the IBC Commission should dwell with. You should leave it to the mandate of the anti-corruption, and they should do their business. They are the people who should now telling us, Wamudende now is at the DCI headquarters or anti-corruption headquarters for recording statement. I think that's not a business that we can take to the IBC.
But I wanted just to know, I mean, what does it really take for you to be cleared? Do you need a certificate from the ESCC of clearance? You need certificates of good conduct from the DCI, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So were all these documents presented to the IBC?
They should have actually.
They should have.
They should have presented this document to the IBC.
And the IBC have relied on this particular document to clear the candidate.
Exactly.
So they should be exonerated from this particular allegations.
Let me just come into something that have been said about this Wamutende, him being questioned by IBC. No, not IBC, but ESCC, that ESCC presented documents to IBC barring him. I think in Kenya, there is what we call the presumption of innocence, which you actually still operate on, because until you're criminally convicted or otherwise barred by a judicial process, then you are still considered innocent. And so I think that is the lacuna that he should have actually escaped from, because there is no conviction on him. So the ESCC letter to IBC does not hold any water as far as the law is concerned, until when we know he's criminally convicted for that, or there is a judicial barring. There are lawyers here, Wakili is here shaking his head, that needed actually they needed to push this process. They needed to push this process, but because they have not, and successfully, there is a due diligence for you to change your name. The reason that is gave out to whoever changed his name until there was a Gazette notice number 1774 is actually legal. They should be. So anybody trying to challenge the process now is actually trying to throw arrows to IBC. That is not part of the process of changing of the names, part of the process of conviction, part of the process of...
But let's be practical.
Why?
No. Let's just be practical, because we've known, I mean, you're in the judicial process, how the glacial slowness takes, to hear these cases, to get them determined. You have, maybe that case will be heard next year, 2026, in November.
And when the case
is heard, ESCC has flagged you. Even following the judicial process, how practical is it? Maybe we should look this, even as we're heading towards a general election, that people will raise, skeleton from the closets, and we know, in law, or maybe just the judicial process itself,
it's a lack of the claw, the biting power, because under Article 79 of the Constitution, the entity accorded that constitutional mandate to enforce, to oversee the follow-up, the enforcement of Chapter 6 of the Constitution is the EACC. That's a singular institution given that mandate. Even if you try to go...
So the reasoning of Moshimo does not really fly?
Absolutely not, because with tremendous respect, that's why I'm shaking my head, because you see, I say, A, we have the legislation itself of the EACC, and that's supposed to be giving effect to Chapter 6, pursuant to Article 79 of the Constitution. Now, the EACC lived up to its mandate, at least what is in the public domain. Let's be very clear about that. They forwarded this file concerning and about this person's alleged complicit conduct that amounted to corrupt conduct, which is prescribed under the law and the Constitution, to the DPP. The ODPP is responsible then to prosecute. Mounting a prosecution in a court of law is not the mandate per the EACC Act of the EACC, which is why, for me, I fought the legislature in terms of failing the EACC, such that even if they gather such evidence that is of such probative value as to yield a conviction as against this person, this evidence is taken to the ODPP, and the ODPP, pursuant to the Constitution, has a final mandate without anybody's control to then mount that prosecution. Now, peradventure, some mischievous person goes and plucks off some documents from the ODPP's office that were forwarded by the EACC.
Yes.
What can the EACC do? What can the Kenyan people do? So we have vested in the office of the ODPP this constitutional power that is so humongous, and yet it's supposed to be exercised without, quote unquote, that oversight. Unless you go to court, and then the court is able to scrutinize and say that, I mean, surely, really, looking at these facts, the ODPP made a wrong decision, and that's a point of intervention. But look at in terms of time, the Kenyan person wastes that time, not really waste, but I mean, the judiciary, the wheels of justice will turn, but they turn a little bit slower in terms of, allow me to finish.
Where is injustice at the end of the day?
So in this instance, Muthende, for instance, the EACC told the IEBC, wait a minute. Our report about this particular person is this much, and they are involved in conduct that would, they will not be able to surmount if, a verdict was arrived at based on what we have, and therefore, we do not think he should be allowed to be on the ballot. So the EACC did not fail the Kenyan people. Who failed the Kenyan people? The IEBC.
Failed the Kenyan people. Right?
I don't think so. The presumption of innocence in this country is probably what failed everything. Because you cannot be barred from running unless you are convicted. That is clear. And the reason why EACC, the same EACC that wrote a letter and forwarded to ODPP, was able to give him a clearing certificate, because he cannot run in these elections until he gets an EACC clearance certificate. Why? Because of the presumption of innocence. So what we can actually say is Muthende is going to be elected.
Okay.
The will of justice
Let me follow it.
Will he be elected?
Just a moment. So the EACC has scruples with the candidates, but it goes ahead and gives a clearance certificate.
Because of the presumptions of innocence. He has already flagged it out.
Though there are issues. Can you see how it's really countermanding?
I know, but it is a whole process. Because you know what happens is the EACC flags it out. The EACC takes it to ODPP so that that process can continue. It takes a while, like he says. But then, because of the presumptions of innocence, at that point, EACC has not actually known whether what they have raised will eventually end up in conviction or not. At the point before you are convicted by law, then you can go on. And the reason why the same EACC has given that Muthende a letter of clearance.
Do you see another potential legal minefield? Of course, this is a legal minefield. We're just waiting for it to explode. Will we be going to another by-election? Because why do we go through this process again? Then someone moves to challenge it in court, and there are credibility issues, and then we have it also nullified at the end of the day, and then we're calling it up for an by-election.
In fact, I would say that, in fact, the executor, who is the ECC, because once the ECC lists a red flag, that means
excuse me,
under serious investigation of a particular matter. But have they done their part? Because I think this fellow has not been exposed. We are just hearing about issues from the corridors.
Go to court.
And The ACC, what they should have done is to make sure that that matter is taken to the DPP, so that the DPP can make a recommendation whether the claim passes a threshold to be a judicial case or not, because they are not the final decision maker. They can only make a prescription that this candidate is a suspect, and we are doing an investigation. But their report, they should deliver their report to the
DPP, which it has been done, isn't it?
And the DPP have the final whistle.
They did.
They did.
The DPP have the final whistle. That particular file will get back to the ECC recommending the drop of the matter or recommending prosecution.
Prosecution. All right. So, but the DPP. So, is it the DPP which is sleeping on the job?
I don't want to level that accusation, but I think across the board we have interference from the executive, and I can only see the fingerprints of the executive in this. That this is our candidate.
Which is purely speculative.
It's speculative.
From your yes.
Yes. From this is my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with anybody else. I'm saying this because this is a UDA candidate, and they have to win by any and all means, in spite of whatever aspersions are cast on their own candidate. So my view is that the inhibitions that we have in law that are in place to stem, entirely eliminate these sort of scenarios are being trampled upon. And the mechanisms by means of which the Kenyan person, the average Kenyan person, depends, established by law, that the National Assembly, the Senate sit to discuss and say, we've passed this as law. They are being trampled upon and thoroughly negated to the detriment of the Kenyan person. And what do we have, for instance? Another front, other than the IEBC, we have someone is sitting on the job. Kenyans are being murdered through these chemicals that are being sold. And the European Union is manufacturing and importing them. How, one has to ask, over 400 tons of these poisonous chemicals are landing on Kenyan shores from the European Union, and you have the Port Authority, for instance, the Kenya Bureau of Standards, that are supposed to oversee that sort of a thing. So this is, in my view, a systemic failure, such that the sanctity of the Kenyan life, even his own constitutional rights to enfranchisement, for instance, which the IEBC ought to safeguard and protect, and in terms of the rule of law, which the ODP is supposed to safeguard and protect, they are being trampled upon. If you're selling poison to the Kenyan people, you ought to close shop. In fact, you ought to be in jail if you're allowing this sort of thing to happen. And the same applies to the ODPP. So I cannot point a finger and tell him, ODPP, I mean, you are serving some partisan interests. And this is across the board. It's a lamentation that you find, even at the individual level. I took my case, this person took their case, that person took it's across the board. You have a lamentation. Where are you here? Murmurs, and I can say that I can verify, murmurs of money changing hands, sometimes big money. So that then the ODPP's office sits on a case, never mounts any prosecution. That victim of injustice lives with that pain on a daily basis.
Yes.
And what do they see? This opulence being displayed by the same officers who are supposed to be serving that taxpayer. It is a systemic failure, which I think, in my humble view, we ought to correct. And we ought to hold the IEBC, for instance, to account. But and this is the question that I have to ask the Kenyan people. Ought it always to be the Okiya Omtara style that we end up in court taking an issue which, for instance, that I said, Marjan, for instance, should have come out and said, I'm not corrupt, I'm not involved in any shady deals.
Thank you.
It is that responsibility at that level, institutionally speaking.
Right, fine. Thank you. So we're coming down to the wires, of course, on the show, and of course also with regard to the by-election. And I think 2 days remaining. Already there are questions that are being raised regarding warnings over Magarini by Gachagua. We have also chaos that rock Gachagua, of course, campaigns in Narok as well. In light of this, because we want to just to give a segue on that particular story that will just make us, as we're winding up the show, to discuss on this, primarily for you two politicians who are here. And this will be in regard to the Election Offence Act, Election Offence Amendments Bill that is actually on the floor of the House. Just to know where it is at, because I think that will go way farther in trying to cure what we have as election offences. Let's just listen in. Right, the chaos-rocking Gachagua in Narok campaigns. And of course, we shall also listen into the warnings from the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua.
After his campaigns in Mbeere North, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua directed his campaigns to Narok in support of Narok Town MCA on DCP ticket Douglas Masikonde, where violence broke out. Narok Bomet Road witnessed heavy police presence and barricades that DCP leadership said were moves aimed at deterring the former deputy president from entering the town.
Simunapigia Maskonde. Bona wewe ole Ntutu na Kasongo munataka kulazimisha watu ya Narok ati wapigie mtu yenu kura. Kwani kura itapigwa na nguvu? Harambee! Harambee!
The leader of the Democracy for Citizens Party has issued a strong condemnation of the act of police brutality and violence that occurred. During the visit, Gachagua said hundreds of police officers mounted roadblocks on the Narok Bomet Road at Al-Mashariani, deliberately obstructing the former deputy president's movement and preventing him from accessing Narok town via the route.
Maskonde anatosha atoshi. Aingie asiingie.
Gachagua condemned the police and the government authorities for the excessive use of force and violent tactics, describing them as undemocratic and a violation of citizens' right to political participation. The former deputy president accused the government of cowardice and alleging, which he claimed has led to the deployment of violence and intimidation tactics. Gachagua further stated that the government's action of political intimidation and violence have already cost them the Narok by-election.
Atapita. Wangapi wanasema Maskonde.
For TV 47, I'm Willie Dennis Njiru.
Well, it appears you have to be thinking twice if you're going on the campaign trail. You as a candidate, maybe you need to be panoplied with the full armor, right? With a helmet and also a sword maybe and a shield. So it seems that this is a battleground truly. If now you need to don a helmet, where were you yesterday yourself? Even as we're looking forward to be winding
personally,
up.
I was also winding up. We have a by-election in Nairobi of one MCA who died in the middle of his term. He's known as Munuve. Munuve was representing a ward in my constituency, which is Kariobangi North. And we also in the same end of campaign to do yesterday, Gachagua was in Narok. But in Nairobi, we had no such accuse. Our campaign here were quite conducive.
Okay.
The environment was quite okay. Because we closed the campaigns at 6 and there were no issues. But what I would like to say here is one. Any contester for any single political vision party or a level cluster, whether an MCA, whether a member of parliament, whether a president, we should all enjoy the fruits of our constitution. The constitution is not there in vain. The constitution is there to give guidance, and it should be respected by everybody. I don't think that there's anybody who is above the law. And if you're above the law, you can't be above the constitution. Even the police brutality are well under the constitution. Nobody should step on a jungle law to introduce brutality because of political gains of a particular group or party. It is wrong, and it is totally wrong for any incumbent government to be using what we call police and police brutality for political gain. This is wrong, and our country does not envisage this. We are far beyond Tanzania and our neighboring Uganda. When they are in chaos, we cannot take our country back to those old days. And I don't think we are no longer in one party. And that's why there was a struggle for multipartyism. And those fruits of multipartyism and democratic space should not go to vain at all. And therefore, it is wrong, and I castigate it completely and say, police, you should do your work. And police's duty is to keep peace, not to be seen in any favor of a particular party, or whether sitting government or opposition. All of us, we are Kenyans, and we are under one roof of the Constitution. We should be respected, and the Constitution should be respected if we want this country to be in peace. But when you invoke some roots, let me tell you, you are the people who are want to take this country to Haina. It is wrong, and that direction is wrong. Gachagua should be given his freedom. He should exercise his freedom. If you guys wanted to kill Gachagua politically, you are done and doomed. Look for other route.
You think someone is aiming at Gashagua's life? Maybe he has bugbears and fears himself. He wants to don the helmet.
What is this special with Gachagua? Caroso can do any meeting anywhere, including Uhuru Park. We are regarded by police. What is wrong with Gachagua? Is he not a Kenyan? It is wrong. And we must behave as a country.
Okay, let's hear from Mheshimiwa as well as we're winding up. I'm a bit squeamish when I see, the fatigue of the security on the ground, boots on the ground, especially when we're doing the campaign trails as well. Everyone has bugbears and fears. I mean, that one also engenders sort of that spirit of insecurity that you're not really secure at the end of the day.
I think election sanctity is important. Is an imperative and is a pointer to developed countries.
Yes.
If we still have elections malpractices, it basically means that we are still growing. Despite the fact that during an election period, anywhere in the world, there are tensions across the parties.
Yes.
That is expected. But then how to manage those tensions is what is important. I think as a country, we've tried. We've really tried, despite this. I know we are growing, and the reason why my friend here, the Governor Bazoo, to be for Nairobi, is saying that we're actually better than Uganda, we're better than Tanzania. We are actually better by all standards. What basically I want to say is that Parliament has looked into this, and the reason why we actually, on the 28th of November last year, we've got the Amendment Act. We actually solved some gaps that were in the previous elections malpractices. And so we actually came up with an amendment, which was done last year, trying to pin down those culprits that are actually going to destroy the elections of this country. And I think in terms of the political parties and the political actors, that is pinned down. Probably what we need to do is the impartiality of the state actors, the police and the likes. But again, let us not challenge the state actors, because sometimes we actually go and challenge the state actors. Gakuya said very clearly that Kalonzo can actually hold a meeting in Uhuru Park and anywhere and nobody disturbs him. It is because I think Kalonzo give notice. Because for you to be able to do any political meeting, you have to give notice. And the reason why IBC always asks for a calendar. But probably Gachagua just decides to go to Narok, does not inform anybody, he's a high valued figure that needs protection, and then he just sneaks in. If you sneak in that way, including myself, including you, if you do that, then you are allowing chaos to erupt. I think as Kenyans, let us not politicize every process, including processes that we're supposed to do individually to protect the sanctity of the elections. So I think the reason why, and I don't think Gachagua was targeted, it was just a rally that was not announced. And so the police had to do their work, because now, naturally, you're supposed to inform the police, and then you're given state protection, like Kalonzo will be given, like anybody else will be given.
All right.
But I would say, just all right that, in fact, the candidate had his own program already approved by ABC for Narok. Therefore, it was not any duty for Gachagua to seek for any single notice. He was going to support his candidate. His candidate has a program and schedule. Were known by the IBC.
So it was not really for Gachagua to do it?
No.
Yes. So maybe, that was presented to IBC, according to Mheshimiwa. Because I'm looking at the time, it's just stick to 8, we need to be winding up.
Do we have those amendments that they're talking about in the Election Offences Act?
That's what I wanted to ask. Where is it at? Is it on the second reading? Is it going to be on the third reading? Where is the Election Offence Act right now?
So far as I'm aware, the Elections Act, as amended in 2022, still criminalizes the use of public resources by any political party during an election. Section 15 of that act proscribes, forbids the use of a public officer to campaign for any candidate. We are seeing cabinet secretaries on the ground. It's a criminal offense under the Election Offences Act, because you are bringing a disequilibrium in the playing field for the candidates. He or she that does not have state machinery cannot garner these support, these CSs or whoever public officer it is, to be able to campaign for them, has a disadvantage. And this disadvantage is what is prescribed by the Election Offences Act.
Thank you.
You also find bribery. I find a governor giving sweets. It matters not. I mean, it matters not.
Oh,
That's
who is this giving lollipops on the ground?
No. This was Honorable Mbarire. I mean, she was captured, giving sweets. Sweets. You know, you're doing...
a sunny day.
Absolutely. That's
Your
enticing.
sugar levels are bound to be going down sometimes, so you need maybe to spike up the sugar.
Exactly.
So, so everyone will actually... we need to wind up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I would give you a chance to actually give your closing remarks, because I think it's 8 o'clock on the nose and we need to wind up. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa James Gakuya, for coming through. I really appreciate. A Member of Parliament, of course, Embakasi, and also we want to thank you. Also, we want to thank you, Titus Lote, right, MP. Kachaliba,
yes.
We really appreciate you coming through. And as always, Advocate of the High Court, Harrison Kalenjui. Thank you for the trenchant discussion we've had this morning. Very engaging. So we shall be also, as I always said, keeping out our eyes and keeping out our ear to listen in to what will be happening on the ground and seeing what will be happening as far as Thursday is concerned. We're all having our hands on the deck, and we shall be giving you that live, wire-to-wire, wall-to-wall coverage from all the points and the centers where the by-elections will be happening. Don't go away, much is coming up on the other side of a break with Anne Odida.